immediately we can start talking about the studio interference, because this disc supplies us with numerous alternate scenes from this film, and one of the ones is the opening sequence. And through these three, because there's two alternate versions in the bonus features, and then there's the one in the movie. So through these, we will get a look into what exactly the studio is doing here. But to start off, the theatrical cut version of it starts in media res with Ryan Reynolds saying things along the lines of, "You might be wondering how I got here."
Oh, yeah. Just it's the classic.
Everything short of a record scratch.
It's the classic. How did I get here?
You think you've had a bad day at work? I think I got you beat. There I am. 3 or 4 days ago, I didn't know this world existed. But 3 or 4 days ago, I wasn't in the rest in peace department.
You couldn't really pick a worse intro, especially now that we saw what they had to work with the alternate ones.
They go straight to, this is the most cringe thing they could do. It's something that is always almost always we just have footage and we have a guy to do voiceover from the cast, so
yeah, it's so
lazy. It in.
And yeah, there are exceptions. Like, it's done well sometimes, but mostly it's just a cop-out.
I think that Ryan Reynolds was the only one that they could get to do audio in post, because there are multiple lines in this movie that are clipping. So, plenty of good signs at the beginning here. And down to freeze frames where then it changes to a graphic that's different colors. And it's this is this guy. This is me, Ryan Reynolds. I'm in R.I.P.D. This is Jeff Bridges. He's also in R.I.P.D. And this is a bad guy. So just a 5-year-old would think that it was a little bit on the nose, this opening.
While it's not in media res, it kind of reminds me of the Hellboy opening where they chopped up the intro and dubbed in Ian McShane just rambling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's quite similar to that.
This has a lot of similarities with Hellboy in general.
A Dark Horse comic.
Yeah, weird, police force that investigates supernatural or paranormal things.
Extreme producer interference.
Well, yeah, it's definitely not an original idea.
No.
That's all that intro is. The one that's in the movie, it's just that, nothing more. Kind of embarrassing, but the first alternate intro is this very moody and quite effective scene that plays off of Western elements, which the movie is clearly trying to play off of in the final cut from dialogue, but never really stylistically. Yeah, but the visuals in this intro are Western. You have lone gunman Jeff Bridges. He's walking through Chinatown. There's neon. It's neo-noir type. It's moody.
Yeah.
It's raining.
And he enters a fish store, which caused a very interesting, lighting, with all the luminescence from the fish tanks.
He starts just harassing this dude that's working the counter, and he's saying a bunch of weird esoteric shit,
Sure, the fish are sexy. That's a given. It's primal. I get it. Must be very soothing, walled up here with all these gillers and pretend you still belong on this earth.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. His Jeff Bridges' delivery is quite good. Yeah. And there's a bunch of interesting shots, through fish tanks. It has a lot of mystery and intrigue to it.
There's weird neon purple lighting that's interesting.
Yeah, and he harasses a guy who seems normal, to us, the viewer. And he's holding a bag of food, and you're why is he doing any of this? Yeah, there's intrigue.
Yeah, it raises a lot of questions.
It's a good intro because it ends with him just shooting the guy in the head.
Right.
What the hell was that? That's a good question. But before we get into the third intro, the second alternate intro, we should probably explain the basic premise of the movie. Ryan Reynolds is a cop in Boston. The movie calls him a crooked cop. We'll get into why that's kind of weird, but he's a crooked cop in Boston who gets killed and winds up in some sort of afterlife thing where he is recruited, like blackmailed into being recruited into the RIPD, the Rest in Peace Department, if you couldn't figure that out yourself.
Yeah, it's very clever. It's great. Great title. Rolls off the tongue.
I actually thought they were going to make it stand for something, like, for real. Like, I thought they was going to have, alternate words than Rest in Peace. But it literally is just Rest in Peace Department.
Maybe, like, you're part of the RIPD, and then it's like, what, the Rest in Peace Department? And then... Yeah. Something.
Yeah, and then they explain that it actually stands for something weird. That just feels, I don't know, it just feels strange, because that doesn't mean anything. Rest in Peace Department doesn't mean anything. It doesn't imply anything. It doesn't say that they're police.
Well, what do? They go around and they cap escaped souls from the afterlife that are trying to roam about the world freely again.
And send them back to hell or whatever.
Yeah. So they chase around these lost souls that return to Earth who are called Deados.
The worst.
I hate that. I hate it so much.
Well, it's like, I feel like, it's like Deadite from Evil Dead, but just, fucking stupid.
Yeah, they wanted, like, unique terminology for the movie, and maybe for merchandising, or maybe just in general. I don't know, but it's the worst they could have come up with.
I mean, I like my Deado t-shirt. I think it's great, and the sweatpants, and my popcorn bin with my favorite Deado, the fat Deado on it. I thought it worked, but...
Dylan, all Deados with a fat Deado.
Well, based on the trailer, sure. But so they go around chasing down these Deados, but for some reason, they can't appear as they're, as they'd imagine themselves. Like in the Matrix, you have your residual idea of yourself. They have to appear through avatars, as they're called, which is also more forcing.
That's so dumb.
Yeah. The back of the box forces those like 15 times, and they just sound like garbage.
What is it, a video game?
So it's as the bonus feature suggests, it's Deados and avatars clashing. So that is the basic premise of it. So that leads us into the third version of the opening, which is, from what we can tell, is that first alternate one was what was originally intended to be in the movie. That's how it was written. That's how it was going to be shot. So the second alternate version, as it's called on the disc, is that scene. It starts exactly the same, where Jeff Bridges walks into the fish store, but then it starts moving like way faster, and the lines are like mostly dubbed in while Jeff Bridges' face is, off screen.
Yeah, the editing is like a lot worse. For some reason, they like exclusively use a close-up of Jeff Bridges as he's like delivering his whole dialogue with this other clerk. It's just so it's pretty much that first alternate ending, except worse in every way.
Well, yeah. The dialogue's different. It's longer. Like, it's more rushed and longer, and it just generally does not create like a tone like the other one does.
And it's way too fast at trying to get to something, because Jeff Bridges walks in and he starts harassing this guy, and instead of it seeming like this guy's just a normal dude, he's like, "You're a Deado. I know you are a Deado."
You dead people. You had a whole lifetime of stealing and killing and criming, but that wasn't enough. No, you gotta hang around pretending you're still alive.
Yeah, and just comes short of spelling out the word.
You don't sell fish here, you sell guns.
Yeah, it's like, it immediately goes to like, "Oh, you got me," and he like tries to pull out a gun or something and shoot him.
He pulls out like 2 massive machine guns, and then we immediately see this man transform into his Deado form, so he looks like deformed and everything, and it's just fucking awful, because it's just trying to get so quickly to the point that, you know, it's completely bucking
There's no
narrative
subtlety.
structure.
Yeah, you don't want to show the transformation of that up front.
Well, yeah, and there's nothing
You want to
saved.
leave it ambiguous.
Because Ryan Reynolds is going to just walk around for 45 minutes getting this stuff re-explained to him. And it's like, you can't show all of it before that happens.
Yeah, so they rightfully looked at that one, which I guess they decided was going to be the final one, and they said, nah, I guess that does suck. And instead of doing the original version, they cut a whole new one out of a scene from the middle of the movie.
I mean, it's the worst of the three. The second alternate opening is pretty bad, but I think it still would have been better.
Yeah, no, it's awful, but I mean the one that's in the movie does the same things where it's just like, oh look, that's what's in the movie. It spoils everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it has the same problems without the benefits of being an actual scene.
Yeah,
but it's a delight in that second alternate opening because you get to see the unfinished effects. That's always a treat.
Dude, yeah, those are always great to look at.
JPEGs.
The actor running around with like the JPEG like poorly going over him, like not tracking him, was like super funny.
And seeing the mocap suit, it's good. That brings us to the point where we talk about the actual movie proper. Well, no, I guess it's not even true because the first scene after that is also something that has an alternate version on the disc. So in the theatrical version of the film, Ryan Reynolds buries... He looks at it. There's no mystery to this either. He just like opens this bag and it's like pieces of gold, and he ties it up and throws it under an orange tree that he's planting, which is a terrible idea because then the roots are going to grow everywhere and you're never going to find that shit again.
It's such a weird thing to do. It also kind of signifies like that something's there because it's like it's the only tree there.
Yeah.
It's a poor like hiding spot.
There's an orange tree in the backyard.
How'd that get there?
And I mean that's prevalent in the alternate version too. But so Ryan Reynolds is just your everyman. He's a cop. He wakes up the next morning and his hot wife is like, "Oh, I love you so much. You're so sexy. Let's have sex. Let's have hot sex."
Wow, you look so sexy, Lisa.
Oh, you grew an orange tree, haha. And then it just moves immediately to him at the police station, the police depot, as Harry Hole would say. And he's just at his locker, and Kevin Bacon walks up to him and he says, "I'm so glad I'm your best friend, and Lisa loves you so much." It's really, you hit the nail on the head with the room comparison.
I'm so happy I have you as my best friend, and I love Lisa so much.
A scene of him with his wife, and they're like, "Oh, we love each other."
I have everything I need right here. My husband with me.
And then it's like Kevin Bacon is like, "Oh, you're my best friend. I love you so much, bro."
What, partner?
Dude, it's like you couldn't give them any less characterization if you tried. It's like the most boilerplate generic shit possible.
These versions of the scenes, like, they're like the worst like start point a movie could have. You are thrown off so bad so early with like this terrible editing and character writing. And it's just
so it's like, what do we have about Ryan Reynolds? He's a cop. Okay,
Who loves
cool.
his wife.
Who loves his wife? What do we have about his wife? She like oranges.
She like oranges and she likes his dick.
That's it.
And I don't mean that like to be derogatory. I mean that is all they talk about in that scene is like, we're banging.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds loves his hot foreign wife and his hot best friend who he's not gay with. And that is what you get. You just get them basically saying it at the camera, just short of that. But in the alternate version of this, because in the theatrical cut, these are two very distinct separate scenes, separated clearly by, scene headers in the script. But in the original version, these are kind of play out as the same scene and they flow into each other, which first of all is a good idea.
Yeah, it's smarter screenwriting. Also, there's more of a hint that she's like, okay, she does not convey this in her performance at all, but it feels like the script is trying to convey that she might be suspicious of him.
Being a crooked cop because... Yeah,
because he's got dirt under his nails, and she, like, notices it.
Is that my finger?
Couldn't sleep. Want to be useful.
And, like, there's a couple other, like, little things in the alternate cut that imply that she might be, like, paying attention to what he's doing, but the performance conveys none of that at all. But I think it was intended.
Yeah, so she's kind of suspicious that he's a crooked cop, but the thing that makes this scene good, I mean, better, I'm not going to say good,
much better.
Yeah. I don't know if...
instead of it just being this flat scene that takes place in the bed and it's just them talking to each other, there's some sort of dynamity to it because there's movement and it gives you a better sense of characters, and it makes you feel like maybe these are people that exist and love each other.
Yeah.
Because, they're brushing their teeth together. They're going through a routine.
They have a conversation as they're leaving, like, in the morning. Like, he's going to work and she's going on, like, a jog. They have a single conversation that, while is still super, like, generic and nothing, is at least a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like... Okay, I can kind of understand the dynamic here.
Yeah, and he's implying in the dialogue that he wants to like run away with her because he's has this gold or whatever he buried in the back.
You know what would be great? Spending an entire week together for once. Sleeping in, taking trips. Not just for a week either.
Oh, let's go to this exotic place and have a vacation or whatever.
It's infinitely more human. And
yeah.
And then they cut all the humanity out of it.
Cut all of it out.
To make them weird sex object people for a flat scene. And that was just strange.
So instead of it just feeling like these people are telling you, look, we're married, it feels like you're taking a little look into like their daily routine. It feels... The camera angles are more dynamic, so it's not necessarily voyeuristic, but you feel like you're in a moment of someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
They still do have sex.
Yeah, but it's not all they have, is that this girl is attractive and Ryan Reynolds is, I guess, and they're doing it.
And there's no gratuitous shot of her ass, so...
Yeah. That was so gratuitous.
But then... Kevin Bacon pulls up in his very nice car, which in the theatrical cut is barely set up, but it seems like at some point in one of the cuts that car was an important element. Yeah. And they're a talking shop, and they're like, dude, aren't we cool? We're crooked cops. We stole that gold from that crime scene.
Well, it also, he goes to pick up Ryan Reynolds in his fancy car, and then they have a little dialogue where it's very clear that Kevin Bacon's just kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, because he, like, low-key, like, hits on his wife and, like, does a bunch of other, like, just things that would, like, help you to, like, hone in on the fact that, oh, maybe this guy is going to be, like, maybe he isn't actually a good friend. Or,
it's a clue.
Yeah, and that Ryan Reynolds is in a bad crowd. And it might be doing bad things.
Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, in the theatrical cut, it's just like they're in the police depot and they're at a locker and they're like, hey, dude, how's it going?
I love you, bro. You would never betray me, bro. Nah, bro. I'd never betray you, bro.